I think it's magnificent. It's a credit to Melbourne, actually. It's really good.
In my opinion, it's a bit bigger for this town at the moment.
Very attractive building, very nice for Australia.
An architect is engaged in an extremely positive, lasting public art, whether he likes it or not. The great traditional forms of all time have been based on the circle, the triangle, and the rectangle. And so I adopted that as a definite discipline when I got down, after 9 months of study of the needs, to produce a building. What are the real, true needs of a great centre for the arts? It was to contain many theatres and auditoria for the performing arts. And by the nature of the site, it's an old riverbed, they're all to be underground. And so I decided to put a spire on top of the underground theatres as an exclamation point or a mark or something saying, here is something of importance.
Were you on the first piece?
From the very beginning of the project in 1973, Sir Grounds came up with the idea of not placing any constraints whatever on the acoustic consultants in terms of the shape and form of the auditorium, so that we could get as close as possible to the ideal requirements for 2,500 people.
It's important that we get in from the very beginning of the design process to establish the volume of the space, the shape of the space, the number of seats, the surface finishes. All of these are essential to establish early on to prevent some serious misstep from being adopted as a basic principle.
Sir Roy then considered the idea of the external form of the building, and he, in fact, drew a circle around the plans to see how the various requirements would fit into that form. We were going down to a level, in fact, below the Yarra River, but the soil investigations had shown that there was a good layer of basalt at about the level of the base construction that we were proposing, so that we had a good solid foundation upon which to construct the building.
certain aspects which actually I felt very strongly about. One was that one should have a rich, warm string tone, because this is the basis on which the woodwind and the brass and percussion, they all sit on this beautiful carpet of sound. Working from that point, you can serve a whole lot of other functions. Chamber music, big choir concerts and so forth, but then going beyond that to popular areas and the use of amplified sound.
And me.
I think it's mainly for the symphony orchestra, but I think they'll have a few rock concerts and things on.
I saw on Sunday night that they're going to have Bucks Fizz here, which is quite amazing. So maybe in 10 years' time they might have something I'd like to come and see.
The workers have been magnificent right through, as far as I'm concerned. To do what we have done up to date, it took a lot of teamwork, and a lot of people did say that the old tradesmen are dying out. I do not believe they are dying out. There is still a few of them about, and we have proven that they're still about because naturally we had them working on this job.
We'll be getting up at pretty big money. So I think the preparation of this part of the budget is extremely important, and I would certainly commend to all members of the committee that they give
Here's the concert hall area that we're building at the present minute. When the title was amended and the air rights were given to us, given to the committee to build in these areas, for example, you're projecting right to the edge of the river.
One of the special considerations about this building is that, as it's a public building of significance for Victoria, it was designed with a life expectancy of at least 150 years. And therefore, the basic external elements are designed with that in mind. The roof, for example, is a formed copper roof, and copper, of course, is one of the most long-life materials.
The whole job is actually different to anything else that's been done in Melbourne, I'd say. It's all it's pretty first time for everybody on this sort of work, you know.
Yeah, it's a job you would sort of only do once in a lifetime.
You don't supposed to do very much work, but you have to be classic work, good work. It's not such a thing you can rush and do a lot of work. No, not in here. It must be 100% good.
on to the acoustic panels, I think. We've done enough with that. Now, I think it's come to the point where we could consider changing the material and the shape of the panels.
Well, I just produced this drawing, and it's basically the same sort of layout as we have before.
Part of the system that we have for adjustable acoustics involves the use of suspended acoustic panels over the stage area. They have a twofold purpose. One is so that the sections of the orchestra can in fact hear each other and communicate, which is a most important feature. And secondly, the panels then take reflected sound up into the auditorium and reflect it down into the seating areas.
I've sat in so many halls around the world where you have a bird's eye view of the stage, one might say, and a bird's eye listening, a bird's ear, if you can imagine it that way, listening of that. Something happening way down there. And I wanted a feeling that the music was going to be wrapping around the listener.
The clarity of the acoustic makes it very demanding for the musician, I suppose, but I think it adds to the sort of commitment to playing, and in a way it just is generally a bit of a catalyst to good musicianship generally, I think.
This is such a bright, very alive sound. We can hear everybody, so it makes it a lot easier to play.
Here that the lavenders are not as sharp as the lavender from the mill. Neither are the coral colours, they're a little duller. The other thing that has happened is that within the painting here, this is not quite as accurate as we've achieved in the actual concert hall itself.
The first time we played with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra there, we found that we tended to overplay, and we didn't realise how sensitive the whole hall was.
This hall, as you know, has provisions for tunability. So we were, in fact, making judgments, aesthetic judgments about the balance of one instrumental section against the other, very subtle adjustments that only the ear can arbitrate. There's no instrumentation in the world sensitive enough to make these decisions.
Even though you can prove a lot of things scientifically, one still is waiting to hear what is the real sound going to be like. Suddenly, we learned very quickly how every sound would carry in the hall remarkably well. And this is, of course, one of the things we've got to learn a lot more about as we progressively work, because if one can coax the instruments to just produce the sound in the natural full dynamic range, you then are getting a much more beautiful sound. And I think that one of the things that this hall has got is this capacity to be able to play very, very quietly and yet very beautifully in it. It was, well, I can only tell you, an enormous emotional release when we went in first and heard the first sound, because even before fine adjustments were made, we were aware that this was going to be a very beautiful hall for sound.
The building has taken 9 years of my working life as an architect, and that's a very long time. On the other hand, of course, it has enabled me to become an expert in architectural acoustics. And having been a musician earlier in my life, I'm very pleased that that has been the course that this project has led me.
Everybody who actually worked on the job is pretty proud of the whole thing.
See, I'm interested in music, so I suppose I appreciate it next better than the average bloke.
I don't think I'll come for the symphonies, I'll come for something a bit more lively than that.